welcome to another episode of the Scripture Twisting 101. As always, we like to do one video per scripture for the purpose of helping you when you do your search and also for your interactions with our Muslim friends. Today's passage is part of a collection of passages in the Quran that gives you the impression that Islam is a religion of peace and tolerance. This particular one, famously known as chapter 2, verse 256, no compulsion in religion, it reads, "There is no compulsion in religion. Truly, the right way has become clearly distinct from error. Therefore, whoever disbelieves in Satan and believes in Allah, he indeed has laid hold on the firmest handle, which shall not break off, and Allah is hearing, knowing." What is wrong with this verse?
Beautiful, man.
I mean, it's always used.
Don't you wish there was a verse
In
like
fact,
this in the Bible?
I've read it many times by presidents and politicians and everything.
Yeah, no compulsion in religion. So the situation that we have in the world today is you've got various Islamic terrorist groups going around killing Christians, killing Jews, killing Yazidis, killing Hindus, killing all kinds of groups. And they're doing it because they've been commanded to do it. You've got Surah 9, verse 29, fight those who do not believe in Allah. Muhammad said that he'd been commanded to fight until people acknowledge that there's only one God, Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger and so on, and they adopt Islamic practices. So there are clear commands to fight and violently subjugate the world. But for some reason, whenever Muslims go out and do that, there are people in the West, whether Muslims or non-Muslims, who say, no, 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 no. Those aren't real Muslims who are quoting and obeying the Quran and the Hadith. No, no, no. Real Muslims don't fight because they know that there's no compulsion in religion. So this is one of a small handful of verses of the Quran that Muslims use to show that Islam is actually a religion of peace. And the others are 532, Surah 109, verse 6, chapter 60, verse 8, and this one. These are the verses that Muslims use to show that no, Islam is a religion of peace. And as long as you just take that little claim, there is no compulsion in religion, and you ignore everything else in the Quran and every Muslim commentary on it, that is exactly what you would conclude. But that's how most people in the West interpret the Quran, right? Here's what this little part says. Let me ignore the historical context, let me ignore the literary context, let me ignore the commentaries, let me ignore everything else the Quran says. Just focus on this little part that I like, ignore everything else in all of reality, and come to my conclusion about Islam. That is a very, very sloppy methodology because, Sam, what happens if you actually take a closer look at what this verse would have to do with Islam?
And this is why we have to keep in mind the 3 stages of Islam that we mentioned in the previous session, and the fact that there are 2 sections to the Quran. There's the Meccan section, verses composed during the Meccan period where Muhammad was outnumbered, he was the minority. Then he migrates to Medina, north of Mecca, this is all in Arabia. And that starts the Medinan section, or the Medinan period, and there are verses that are composed during the Medinan period. Although it is true that chapter 2, verse 256 is a Medinan verse, it's still
the beginning.
At the beginning stages of his Medinan experience. If you let just the Muslim scholars explain the verse, not me, not David Wood, Muslim scholars such as Ibn Kathir, Al-Qurtubi, they offer 2 explanations of the passage. And I'll actually read from Ibn Kathir. This is an abridged translation of Ibn Kathir, because there are 2 forms of Ibn Kathir's translation in English. One done by Darus Salam, which is available online, which conveniently omits this part. So in Darus Salam,
Maybe it was upgrade. That's why they...
Exactly, yeah. But I want to make it clear, because in the past when I've cited this particular English version, and it's in the Arabic, and you have the Arabic Ibn Kathir in front of you,
and right here,
you're going to confirm that this is in the Arabic of Ibn Kathir.
That's right.
Though the Darus Salam edition conveniently omits it, this particular version is translated by Sheikh Muhammad Nasib Al-Rafai, Al-Firdaus Limited. This is the publishing company. Al-Firdaus Limited, 1999 edition. It's part 3, pages 37, 38, which you can access online on our websites, answeringislam.net. Let me read it. Ibn Kathir, not me, not you, not some Yahudi. Because behind every conspiracy, there's a Jew. Don't forget. The reason for the revelation of this verse was that women of the Ansar used to make a vow to convert their sons to Judaism if the latter lived. And when the tribe of Banu Nadir was expelled from Medina, some children of the Ansar were among them. So their parents could not abandon them. Hence Allah revealed, there is no compulsion in religion. Narrated by Ibn Jarir, on the authority of Ibn Abbas, Abu Dawood and Nasai. On the authority of Bandar, Abu Hatim and Ibn Hibban from the hadith of, man, these are so many names, Mujahid and others. However, Muhammad ibn Ishaq narrated that Ibn Abbas said it was revealed with regard to a man from the tribe of Bani Salim ibn Auf called Al-Husayni, whose two sons converted to Christianity, but he was himself a Muslim. Now watch. He told the Prophet, shall I force them to embrace Islam? They insist on Christianity. Hence, Allah revealed this verse. So let me put this in context. Chapter 2, verse 256, and Qurtubi also confirms this, another renowned Muslim commentator. 2 verse 256 is not addressed to the non-Jews, non-Christians, because as we're about to see, chapter 9 verse 29 allows Jews and Christians to remain Jews and Christians provided they pay the jizya, which I would call extortion money, so that you can survive. So if you're a Jew, you're a Christian, no compulsion on you. You can remain a Jew or a Christian provided you pay jizya. That's one interpretation. The other interpretation is, though this was given generally, you don't compel anyone, whether Jew or Christian or idolater, to convert to Islam. It has been abrogated. Here goes, Ibn Kathir. But this verse is abrogated by the verse of fighting. And what does he quote? You shall be called to fight against the people given to great warfare. Then you shall fight them, or they shall surrender. This is chapter 48, verse 16. And the other verse that abrogated is, Allah also says, O Prophet, strive hard against the disbelievers and hypocrites and be harsh against them. Chapter 9, verse 73. And then he goes on to say, therefore all people of the world shall be called to Islam. If any one of them refuses to do so or refuses to pay the jizya, they should be fought till they are killed. So Ibn Kathir says that this applies to Jews and Christians who are not forced to convert, provided they pay jizya. But then he says that another view basically says it's been abrogated by verses such as chapter 9, verse 73, because Muslims must call everyone to Islam. And if they don't become Muslim, you fight them until they do, or are killed, or in the case of Jews and Christians, pay the jizya.
That's right. It's right here in the Arabic. You read it all as you read it in English, translation of what I have in front of me. And it's very clear. I mean, in fact, it says that this is abrogated already, and then it gives these different choices. Right. And then it closes by stating that it's a duty, basically, to invite everyone in all nations to accept Islam. If they refuse, then here's the conditions of what happens.
And Ibn Kathir is not the only one, by the way. So say, well, you're quoting Ibn Kathir. Who's Ibn Kathir? Just so happens to be one of the greatest Muslim commentators of the Quran, a student of Ibn Taymiyyah. But we'll go with Qurtubi.
That's right.
I'm going to just quote, because it's a lengthy citation, I'll just quote the two interpretations given by various Muslim scholars. Scholars disagree, this is Al-Qurtubi, and hold various positions regarding the legal status and meaning of this ayat, this verse. It is said that it is abrogated because the Prophet forced the Arabs to adopt the deen of Islam and fought them and was only pleased with Islam for them. Sulaiman Ibn Musa took the view saying, and he quotes the same verse that Ibn Kathir quotes, chapter 9, verse 73. It is abrogated by, O Prophet, do jihad against the unbelievers and the hypocrites, chapter 9, verse 73. That is related from Ibn Masud and many commentators. Now,
wait. Is this the same Ibn Masud that Muhammad said, if you want to learn the Quran from anyone, learn it from him?
Yes.
Wow.
And here's the interesting part. You know, you have Qurtubi. Basically, he is in the 12th century, almost 600 plus years after the time Muhammad. You have Ibn Kathir in the 13th century, almost 700 years plus after time Muhammad. They're affirming the cancellation of this,
yes,
and the call basically to wage war against those who reject Islam.
Exactly. Now, the second one is interesting, because if you're not a Jew or Christian, you're out of luck, buddy. This passage has nothing to do with you.
We're not Jew or Christians, are we? No, we're not.
But it says, it is not abrogated, one view says. Why? And was sent down about the people of the book. In particular, it means they are not forced to adopt Islam when they pay jizya. Those who are forced are the idolaters. Only Islam is accepted from them, and they are the ones about whom O prophet, do jihad against unbelievers and the hypocrites. Chapter 9, verse 73 was revealed. So either interpretation, Muslims, you got problems. If we go with the view...
We got problems too. We're not paying the jizya, so
Oh, yeah.
same thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. But the whole point is, if you go with this is only about Jews and Christians, then you cannot use this passage to say that Muslims are not commanded to fight and kill Hindus or anyone who worships gods and goddesses like pagans, right? Like witches or whatever, you name it. But if you go with the other view, it's been abrogated. Either way, damn if you do, damn if you don't. In other words, this passage does not give solace to any Muslim who wants to argue the Quran is peaceful. It doesn't impose itself on any group. If you don't attack Muslims, we don't attack you. Hogwash. This passage provides no such support for that view.
Why do you have to be a hater like that?
I have to be. What are you going to do?
So
ready
are you
now
telling
to
me there
embrace
is
Islam?
compulsion actually in religion?
You better believe it.
Yeah, and you know what they said? Like Ibn Kathir says, the word compulsion meaning fighting. You can say there is no fighting in religion. He's saying, no, there is fighting in religion because it's been abrogated.
Thank you.
And that's really the difference between modern people trying to understand what Islam is and the early centuries of Muslims and their commentators. Any Muslim in the early stages of Islam, or any Muslim who was commentator or scholar on the Muslim sources, if he were just reading and he started reading and he gets to no compulsion in religion, he's not going to go, oh cool, here's what Islam really teaches. It would be, wait a minute, what about all these commands to violently subjugate people based on their beliefs?
Yeah.
What could this possibly mean? So their goal would be to reconcile it. And you would it's pretty easy to reconcile when you have the doctrine of abrogation. Those who didn't want to say that that's been abrogated, easy, you would just say, okay, this only applies to Jews and Christians if they're paying the jizya, because according to the Quran, if Jews and Christians are paying the jizya and they acknowledge their inferior status and they are in a state of utter humiliation and they're paying you to acknowledge the superiority of the Muslim community, they don't have to convert. So you say, okay, that's how it ties together. It's just a very modern method of interpretation to say, oh, here's a verse that sounds really peaceful if I throw everything else out and ignore every commentary ever. Because Sam pointed out, you basically have only a couple of main interpretations in Qurtubi, but Qurtubi goes scholar by scholar, and they have some variations on those basic theories. But he goes basically every view of this verse down to his own time. No one thought that it means what modern Muslims say it means. No one thought that it meant that. And so if that is what it means, wow, once again, we are stuck with the claim that Allah must be a horrible communicator, because 14 centuries of Muslims went by who did not understand that this verse is calling for peace and tolerance, and it's somehow canceling later verses that called for the violent subjugation of the world. 14 centuries of Muslims didn't know that, and only modern 21st century American Muslims are understand the Quran finally.
And didn't Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi have a PhD in Islamic studies?
Oh, no, but he didn't know what he talking about.
And didn't ISIS apply the very teachings of jihad against?
Yeah. But see, they didn't go down the street to your nice Muslim friend who's never read the entire Quran and has gotten all his information about Islam from what he hears, U.S. politicians and journalists say.
It's a
They didn't
miracle.
ask Shabir Ali or Hamza Yusuf, what's wrong with you?
Yep.
And by the way, just real quickly on one point, even if we take the view it's about Jews and Christians, that means those who are not Jews and Christians, Muslims have no choice but to kill them if they don't become Muslims. So that means if you're a Hindu, tough luck. You better become Muslim, because you're not given the choice of paying jizya. So no matter how you look at it, this is a passage that does not prohibit the violent subjugation of unbelievers. Jews and Christians get a break if they pay the jizya, but if not, they'll be killed too, and their women will be taken as booty, and the children will be enslaved. But if you're a non-Jew, non-Christian, sorry.
Yeah.
If it's not Islam, you go and meet your maker. You're going to have to be killed.
Here is the amazing thing, another miracle that we just discovered. It's amazing how Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, all of them recruit bad Muslims that do not understand that jihad is not really mandated for them.
Yeah,
It's shame on those who taught these kids.
All of these Muslims who are willing to lay down their life for Islam, they all get it wrong. The westernized Muslims who don't care at all about Islam, they're the ones who really understand it.
Are you telling me no 72 Houris waiting for them?
My friend, they needed Shabir Ali, Jamal Badawi, and Hamza Yusuf to set them straight.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, you've heard it all. Until we meet again, have a blessed day. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, hit the bell so that you don't miss future videos. And please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Sira International. And together we can introduce Muslims to the gospel of Jesus Christ. Thank you.